But your mileage may vary depending on exactly what you want to do. So we'll go ahead and undo all of this and bring it back to where we're at now. Notice I still have that. If I undo it one more time, I get rid of the tab stop. So these are the tab stops that I want to do. Now, what if I want to fine-tune these tab stops? How do I do that? Well, to do that, we need to get to the tab dialog box. So that means we need to go to our paragraph dialog box. So we do that, and you'll notice down here there's a little button here for tabs. When you click on tabs, it brings you to the tabs dialog box. Here is where you're going to see how you can make certain changes to any of the tab stop positions. You can see that your default tab stops are set for a 1/2 inch. You can change that. Let's say you want to change that up to 1 inch. You can do that. You can have the alignment. Do you want all your default tabs to be left, centered, right? Decimal. What would you like to do? You can change that as necessary. And then you can even add the leaders. Leaders mean that every time you hit the tab, it inserts this between where you stopped and to the next tab stop. So you can do none. You can do some little periods here, or ellipses. You can do dashes. You can just do an underline. This is good like when you're doing like a table of contents to carry the eye from the text over to the number to the side. It's always a good one. And of course you can clear all. Now what this can do is if I come here where I have a custom one, let's go ahead and create on this line. Okay, I have a custom tab right here. See the 3? And I'm going to go ahead and add another one. We'll add a decimal one. So we'll add a decimal one right about here. Okay, so we've got 2 tab stops, custom tab stops set here. I go to the paragraph dialog box, go to the tabs. Now check this out. It says I got a tab stop position at 3 inches. I also have one at 3.63 inches. And all the defaults will be a 1/2 inch after these. Look at this one. If I select this one, it says that's a left one. But if I select the 3.63, it reminds me, that's the decimal one. And at this point, I can clear a particular one. Let's say I don't want the left one. So I select the left one. Oop, I hit too quick. Go back here. So I'm back here, got the 3, and I want to clear this one. All I need to do is hit clear. And then it says, by the way, when you hit OK, it's going to clear the 3-inch tab. So I click OK, boom, and it's now been cleared. It's all been taken out. Now this is kind of fun because now when you want to, you can set these, or if you come back here to the tabs, you can even set the position of this one to something else. You can say, well, no, I want to set this tab. You can clear it. Or if you had multiple, you could clear them all. So I can go ahead and say I want a leader, I want to set this, it's good, I click OK, and now the tab has already been set. Notice how it has all the leader before the next tab. Tab stop here. So it goes whoop all the way there, and that's the leader that I've been placing. And so when I tab over to it, you've got your leader, and then I can see 12.62. I hit enter. And if I tab over and do 123.56, see how it still lines up, but now I have leader between what's typed over here and over here between the stabs. So if I say subtotal, it'll eat up a little bit of that, and then just say total. See how it just kind of draws your line to the appropriate one? So this is just another way that we can use these tab stops, especially the decimal tab stop, and we can set them with the tab dialog box. So that's it about tabs. What about something else? Let's say I want to take text and assign it not just the margins that I have, but I want to kind of give a certain portion of the text its own margins, but I all want it on the same page. How do I do that? Well, that's where columns come into play. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this one. You probably notice I have another document here. Before I started this nugget, I went ahead and downloaded the entire text of the Declaration of Independence. We recognize this. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands. Okay, well, enough of that. You can read that on your own if you want. Just go out and do a Google search on the Declaration of Independence. Great document. But let's say I wanted, instead of just having it all on one page, I wanted to separate the page into columns. We see this when we're doing like newsletters, or if you're writing a journal, like a journal kind of a thing, and you want to add different columns. Now, where do you do this? Well, believe it or not, this is going to be over here under the page layout. So we go over here to page layout, and you'll notice that we have the columns. So you can split the text into 2 or more columns. So they even give you an example there showing you have your title, and then you split the, underneath that you can split the text into 2 or more columns. Now what happens is you can select here by going 1, 2, 3. You can do a column to the left, a column to the right, fight, fight, fight. Now, you can change these, and these are some of your defaults. Or you can just click on the More Columns, which then gives you the Columns dialog box. Here is where we can set it up where you have obviously the basics, but you can also choose as many columns as you want. Now, don't go get crazy, because eventually you'll just have columns. If you did 30 columns, you'd have like half of a word on each, and it'd look kind of weird. Obviously, you want to make it look real good. With this, the default is 1 column on a page. Now, when I click on 2, you'll notice it says 2, and it automatically gives you equal column width. So the width of each column will be 3 inches with a half space in between. So if I go to 3, it'll do equal, and it'll say 1.83 with a half space in between these. And so you can look and see what it's going to look like. You can also, of course, if you like to kind of just delineate between these, you can add a line between them, and you'll notice that it then drops a line, almost like a line, a bar tab, all the way down through, so that way you have a line separating your columns. And again, it's up to you on how you want to do that. You can line them up either way, any way you want to. You can also change, if it says equal column width, you can take this off, and then you can change. Let's say you want the middle to be only 1.5. So you say 1.5, okay? And then it'll automatically adjust the next column to take the thing. Now if I say 1.83 here, watch what happens. It then says, okay, I'm going to adjust the spacing in between them to make it a little even. So now because it at least wants to even it across the page, so the spacing between these is going to be the same. So just remember, even though you might say it's unequal column width, the spacing will try to even out, unless you come in here and change it. Of course you can change it. That's not a problem. So let's take a look. Let's move back to 2, and we'll do equal column width. We'll add the line between, and we'll go ahead and click OK. Oh, before I do that, just to make sure you understand, this is going to apply to your whole entire document. Well, why wouldn't you want it? Well, maybe you want a cover page or a title page that doesn't have it. You can do it from this point forward. So on the page that you're starting the columns, you can go this point forward, and then you can also then get to a certain place in your document and say, this point forward, I only want 1. And so you can set this for multiple columns for the first part of your report, and then 1 column later on. So you can keep doing this throughout the entire area. Okay, so let's go ahead and just apply it to the whole document and show how this works. I click OK, and bada bing, bada boom, here we go. And I'll scroll down and scroll up here, and you can see at the top here that we have my text. Here's the space in between with the bar, and if you look and you just scroll on down, you'll notice that it continues to go ahead. And when I get down to the bottom of the first page, so let's see, when in the course of human events, and it comes down to the bottom here, it says, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future. It goes ahead and comes all the way up, future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. And so it goes down and then starts the new column, and then at the end of this column, it starts over on the next page on the first column. So this is how columns can help us to divide and kind of set apart the things that we do. Now, the neat thing is, check this out. Even though I've got the 2 columns, I can now set indents for my paragraphs individually, and it will be independent of the other column. It's still based upon paragraphs. So if I come in here, and let's say that I want to change the first line indent. Now when I do this, it's going to say, okay, that is going to do it for that one. Notice it didn't do it for this paragraph, and it didn't do it over here anywhere else. Now to change this, I need to be in this column. Notice I click in this column, and now I'm given my tools for the indent. So isn't that neat? I can set different indents for paragraphs in different columns and just set them up that way. So it's kind of really nifty. We have that capability. You'll also see right here that it changes to an arrow. Well, right now I have it set as equal column width. So if I can click in here and try to make it move, and it won't move. But watch what happens if I come back to columns, go to more columns, and I turn off equal column width. Now I'm going to leave it there. Click OK. Ah, look, I get the little checker box. Now when I grab it, I can change this. And I can even change the spacing in between. See that? So I can make changes as necessary. Now watch what happens though if you move over here. It adds things, it moves it over there, and then I can go over here, grab it, move it over here. So you have many different options when you are developing these columns. Now, why are columns good? Again, it helps delineate your content, like for newsletters, for reports where you're trying to bring certain things and maybe align it up onto a certain page. It adds a little bit of a professionalism to it. The other reason I do it, just to be honest, is I actually take this, make it landscape, the whole page, and then I can cut down the middle so I can make a little flyer on one side of the 8.5 by 11 and carbon copy it over here, and then I just print a whole bunch and I split it down the middle, and I have equal sized little brochures I can sit in. So that's another way. That's just a suggestion. That's how I use it quite a bit all the time. So you can use this for whatever reasons you're looking for, but columns definitely help you when you're trying to set up your page, your document, in order to delineate between maybe two ideas or two different stories. Well, now you guys are going to be word power users because you understand the power of utilizing those tab stops, whether it's the decimal tab so you can line up numbers, whether maybe it's a bar tab to run that vertical bar all the way through the paragraph, left, center, right tabs, they're all in your arsenal of tools. Then we also took a look at how we create and adjust columns. So if you want to make sure that you have certain types of content on one side of the page or on the other, make it look a little bit more like a book, you can do it that way. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing. Microsoft Word 2007, Page Formatting, Part 1. Well, we've gone through from the small things, little text and characters and how we can format those, up to larger sections, which we call paragraphs, which are going to be those line with the paragraph marker, and we can format that. Now it's time to move on to a page, and even beyond the page with sections. How we format those and how we change how much text appears on the actual page is what we're going to start off with in this nugget. One thing I can tell you is you're going to want to break from page formatting after this, because all we're going to be talking about are page breaks, section breaks, how we break up our text onto a page or into sections which can cross pages. We can take our manuscripts or documents and break them into different sections. We're also going to take a look at margins and how we can say, all right, we want text to start this far over from the left of the page, this far over from the right, this much from the top, this much from the bottom. And then even orientation. No, we're not going back to college and freshman orientation. We're talking about whether you want to look at your page straight up and down or turn it on its side in a landscape mode. Whenever you're talking about your pages of your document, we're of course referring to the formatting is how the content fits onto the page. Now, there's some other things that we can do with page formatting. Like, for example, you're going to hear me use the phrase white space, which is, okay, the space that's not being occupied by text or graphics or tables or anything like that. And you can kind of see that by looking at Word 2007 that, oh, look, there's white space over here. Well, of course, that's the left margin from the side of the page until you start typing. Then you got your top margins. Then you got your right margins. And down below you got your bottom margins. Okay, that kind of controls how much, quote, white space is between the sides and your content. But understand this, you can obviously change the color. So when I say white space, it just means from the edges down to where the text and the graphics and content are. Now, you can control how this works, because all the margins do is saying that, in this case, when this page began, my text couldn't start until it was about an inch down. In fact, I think it's exactly 1 inch down from the top. Okay, so that's when my title and all this started. I also said that text had to start 1 inch over from the side and 1 inch over from the other side. So that's kind of how that all works. And then at the bottom, and this is where it gets interesting, I said when I'm typing and when I'm approaching my bottom margin, once I've gone so far and now the next line of text would go over my bottom margin, the Word 2007 master brain said, hey, I'm going to start a new page.